Dr. Phyllis Collins of DietHobby.com. Some of you know me as the YouTube Grandma. Today I'm going to make mini chocolate chip cheesecakes. There'll be 12 of them, and each one of them is 122 calories, 2.2 carbs, and 2.5 grams of protein. 122 calories for each little cupcake. It's actually not a cupcake, of course, it's a cheesecake, and it's a tasty little dessert that you can have. It'll be already pre-measured for you. This stores in the refrigerator very well for 3 or 4 days. It also freezes individually very well. Okay, so I started out already by spraying non-stick coating on all these little cupcakes so that when you take the wrapper off, it's easy to come off. Now the next thing is that we're going to mix together on the bowl. We're going to mix together the crust because this has a little pecan and crust. It's a ½ cup of chopped pecans, and it's 2 packages, little packages of the Splenda, and then it's 1 tablespoon of melted butter, and you mix that all together, and that's going to be the crust for our little mini chocolate chip cheesecakes. See, we're mixing together to kind of, all it really does is just kind of moisten it up a tiny bit. You know, so we want to get the butter all the way through there pretty good, because we want the butter and the sweet tasted sugar to infiltrate and incorporate all through this. Now I go, how am I going to divide it equally? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of divide it in half. Then I'm going to divide the halves kind of in halves. Okay, and that's 4. So then I'm going to do 1/3 of each one of these. See how I've kind of divided them up? And I'm going to put 1/3 of each one of these in the bottom of each cupcake. So I'll start out by doing one to show you how it works. Okay, so I'm going to get 1/3 of one of these, and I'm just going to, you know, use my little fingers, and I'm just going to poke them down until the bottom is filled up. I've got on the bottom, I've got it filled up with, let's see if you can see that. So you just kind of spread around the bottom for the crust. Okay, so now it's going back, and by the way, I sprayed the bottom of the pan, then I put the lining in it, and then I sprayed the top, because I don't like things sticking, and sometimes the paper will tear and it'll stick. Now I've got the little nuts and butter and Splenda crust spread evenly, approximately evenly, in all the bottom of each one of these cups for 12 of them. And the next thing is to make the filling. Now I'm going to use my food processor today. You can use a blender, you can use a mixer. Today I'm using a food processor. I start out with 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese, and this is regular cream cheese, and I put it in my food processor. I have my cream cheese, and I'm just going to run it real quick to start the blending. I did that. Now I'm going to add 1 egg, and I'm going to add a 1/4 cup. I think it's a 1/4 cup of granulated Splenda. I'm going to add, well, I forgot to measure it out, so I'm going to, I know how much it is. I'm going to add just a little bit, it's too much, of up to like a ½ teaspoon, 1/4 to a ½ teaspoon of vanilla. And now I'm going to mix that all together on the blender for just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take off the top, and I'm going to stir the edges a little bit to make sure that everything gets incorporated into this. Now it's ready for me to add the chocolate chips. Okay, now I'm going to add the chocolate chips and stir it around. So first I have to take off the blade. Not so easily done. Be careful, these things are really, really sharp. There's a special blade for mixing, but I don't remember where I put it. Did you see that I licked inadvertently? It's almost impossible to cook without licking something. Okay, now I'm going to add, you know what I think before I add the chocolate chips, well, I think I'm going to put it, no, because I'll lose a lot. Well, I think I will anyway. I'm going to put it into another bowl because it's really hard to work with the food processor. I find it really hard to work because of that little hole in there. You know, you're stirring it up and it gets in my way. I usually choose to use a mixer. This particular recipe actually says use the food processor, and so I thought I'd do that because I hardly ever use it in any of my videos. I thought it'd be a nice change. Okay, so I don't know how I'm going to keep from licking my fingers. Now all we're going to do is we're just going to pour 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips into this mixture. See the chocolate chips? Don't they look delicious? And I'm going to stir this all together with the chocolate chips. And we're going to make our little mini chocolate chip cheesecakes. Now sometimes you just want a sweet treat, and you just don't, you want a diet, you don't want to gain any weight, and maybe you're on a diet. So what you want to do is you want something new. Well, it's really good to learn how to do these things because they'll be a lifesaver all the time. You know, you can, whenever you want something sweet, sometimes I have these recipes that I make now, and I almost always make them for myself rather than just buy something fattening, because when I buy something really fattening, it's a really rare treat, and then I have to pay for it by eating a lot less for a while, which I don't like to do. So I like to make my treats fit in with my daily calorie count. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to divide it between all of these little cupcake muffin tins as evenly as I can. And these muffins will last in the refrigerator. One thing about cheesecake, you know, this is going to be baked, and after it's baked, it has to sit in the refrigerator and chill before you can eat it. You know, it needs to be, you know, to solidify, you know, it has to cool down, and you have to put it in the refrigerator. So usually if you're going to have this in the evening, you'd have to make it in the morning because you have to have it in the refrigerator at least an hour. And better, the longer the better. Really, it's better to do it like an evening before and then leave it overnight. And then the following evening, you know, then you would have it. But hopefully what you do is like me, you would just have one, and then there'd be 11 left, and you would wrap each one of the 11 that are left individually and freeze them. So in the future, when you want one, you know, for a long time, all you have to do is go to the freezer and pull one out and let it thaw out, and there you have a little treat. I usually have lots of treats that way. I keep a variety of treats in my freezer, and then when I run low on one, then I will make that batch again and put them in the freezer. So I usually have maybe 5, 6, 7 at least of these kind of different treats. Maybe one of my healthy brownies, maybe the cinnamon chocolate bread pudding, maybe the cinnamon bread pudding, maybe some peach bread. You know, all these recipes that I make, I would have a variety, and I go in and just pick one, and then the rest stay there. And I have a rule for myself that I follow. If I can't control myself, and I have, like if I have one, and I have another one, well, that was, I don't want to do that, but that's okay. But then, if I had a third one, then I have to throw all the rest of them away because I can't control them. I hate doing that, but that's how I do it myself. Okay, so and if I were to eat them all, then I couldn't make it again for a long time until I felt I could handle it again. Okay, now I'm going to kind of get the air holes out by doing this. Now, what I did was I just kept banging these up and down until I flattened them all out and it kind of spread all out evenly. Now it's going to go into the oven for 15 minutes. I have already preheated my oven to, I believe it's 350 degrees, and I've preheated my oven, and I'm going to put this in my oven for 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, we'll be back to look at them. The cheesecakes are out of the oven, and they've cooled just a tiny little bit, enough for me to handle one. So what I'm going to do now is, see, they're little tiny cheesecakes. They don't even fill up half of this little cup. And there's the crust and then the chocolate chip cheesecake, and each one of these is 122 calories. Now they need to go into the refrigerator for at least an hour to chill, and then after they've chilled, we'll be back and taste one. I'm back with the mini chocolate chip cheesecakes. Here they are. Don't they look wonderful? Now we're going to try one. Right? Let's see, which one shall I try? This one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is peel away the paper. And you can see that here's the little crust, and here's the little topping. It's a tiny little cheesecake. This is 122 calories. And remember, it's made out of Splenda, you know, but so it's sugar-free. But just because it's sugar-free doesn't mean that it's low-calorie. There's a lot of fat in cream cheese, and it's got some chocolate chips. There's a little tiny bit of sugar because I didn't use sugar-free chocolate chips. I could have done that if I had chosen to do so, but I like the mini chips, and I chose not to do that. So here it is. This is what it looks like. 122 calories, 2.2 carbs, 2.5 grams of protein. Okay, so where shall I taste it? Now that is really good. Delicious, 122 calories. Come and see me at diethobby.com.